Hi, over the Christmas break I revamped my studio, so I thought I'd show you what I did and what's left to do. I know that some people would do things differently, but this is how I did it. I'm also taking this opportunity to answer some questions that people have asked. So one of the most common questions I get is, what does my studio look like? Well, the old studio was a real dog's breakfast, which is Australian slang for, you get the idea. It would often take me an hour just to set up a shot, and the same for tear down. During editing, if I didn't like a shot, I'd have to repeat the whole process again. Man, it was a really frustrating, disorganised mess. And really, have I said mess yet? Not only that, but my old lighting situation was hopeless. With my tight video schedule, I had little time to fix it. So first of all, I bought 3 large finger-jointed oak kitchen bench tops, sanded them down and put on a layer of flooring lacquer. Then repeated this another 4 times until I had a very hard-wearing surface. It has to be tough because it has to put up with solder blobs and bits of wire jabbing into it. I also lacquered the underside to avoid warping. So while that's playing, let's check out my next question. Do you have a bachelor's or master's, and in what subject did you graduate? Actually, I don't have either. I started a degree in electrical engineering, but then the attraction of full-time work was too great, and I never actually finished it. During one of my semester breaks, I worked for an office automation repair shop, fixing photocopiers and printers and all that sort of stuff. I was given the task of fixing a shelf full of broken PCBs, which normally would have taken someone a couple of weeks. Well, I did it in a couple of days. So they gave me the 2 hard basket shelf, and I knocked those over in a couple of weeks. After that, they offered me full-time employment, and I just grabbed the chance. So I tried to finish off my degree part-time, but it never really happened. So back to the studio refit. I bought a cheap flat-pack kitchen kit from my local hardware store. This is because often I'm standing while filming, and sitting down is a real pain in the neck. Or rear end, whatever. If you're in Australia, I bought the Caboodle brand from Bunnings. I needed lots of drawers because I have a lot of stuff that I need to store. Building 7 cabinets took about a day with a little bit of help. Okay, so the next question, what did I do before YouTube? Well, I spent a bit of time in the electronics industry and I eventually moved into IT. The attraction of computers in the 80s was just a bit too irresistible for me. I landed jobs as sysadmin for Unix systems, then moved into roles like team lead, project management, then into enterprise architecture. These are all large systems, data centers, geo clusters, that sort of thing. But my electrical engineering past was used extensively for things like data center audits, where I would come up with long lists of issues that were often overlooked. Anyway, that's pretty much where I was up to about last October. Next question, where else have I worked? Well, I'm one of those jack of all trades people. I've stayed mainly within the IT and electronics industry, but I've been an electronics technician, team leader, project manager, people manager, sysadmin, solution architect. I've worked on databases like MySQL, Oracle, Postgres. I've used almost every Unix-based OS there is. I hate AIX, I love Linux. But if there's a need, I'll manage them both. I'm a strong believer of just use what works because time is too short to fluff around. But if something needs to be fixed, I'll fix it. Oh, by the way, if you're ever installing kitchen benches, make sure you spend a fair amount of time making sure everything is level. It'll pay off in the long run, trust me. Okay, next question. Why did I want to become a YouTuber? Good question. Well, I'd spent my whole career in IT and keeping electronics as a hobby, and I had the opportunity last year to be able to switch that around completely. I knew that I wouldn't be able to support myself from YouTube full time, but I wanted to throw myself into it as much as I could to see how far I could take it, because if I didn't do it, I'd always be wondering. Basically, I love learning and I also love teaching people. I regularly watch channels like I Like to Make Stuff, EEV Blog, Great Scott, Andreas and other channels like that. But I saw a real lack of videos that gave you the answers a maker wanted to know. Engineering is all about choices, but I wanted to be able to watch a video that told me oh, how much power does this SBC really consume? Will this sensor board actually deliver what it promises? I wanted to see someone testing something in front of me to see if it's worthwhile, but there just wasn't any around. So I spent a good 3 months planning it all. I didn't want to just sit there testing because that's boring, and you would know by now that I don't like boring. It had to be a bit entertaining because people really switch off if you aren't. So I just do what comes naturally to me. Okay, so next question, how did I get into electronics? Well, I've been doing it all my life. If you watched my interview with Dave Jones, you would have seen a lot of parallels between him and me. I was always pulling stuff apart when I was young. My brother had a drawer full of stuff I'd pulled apart. My parents eventually got sick of this and bought me a 101 electronics kit for Christmas. And that was it. I spent weeks and weeks and weeks playing with that thing. But I also had an uncle who was really into electronics. He used to run an electronics importer called MicroZ. And he would give me presents like half-finished electronics kits that he made himself with instructions written on the back of an envelope on how to finish it off. He had a triple car garage that didn't have any cars in it, but chock full of electronic stuff. And this stuff wasn't rubbish. This was all cool stuff. I'd spend weeks in there just looking. Anyway, unfortunately, my uncle passed away some time ago, but I feel like I'm sort of continuing with his legacy. Okay, so next question, could I talk about some of my projects? Well, I've done a lot of projects, but very few have been fully completed. There's one that does come to mind. Shortly after the 8051 hit the scene, I built a talking alarm clock. I recorded myself saying 1, 2, 3, all the numbers up to 19, and then 20, 30, and so on, then burnt that into a bunch of EEPROMs. The 8051 couldn't handle a heck of a lot of memory, so I had to page in the EEPROM. I managed to get each sound sample down to roughly a page size, and so all I had to do was page in each sample and play it as pulse width modulation output on one of the pins. I even recorded my baby daughter crying at the time and used that as the alarm. It also had a real-time clock in it, but no display setting, so setting the time was by voice. It was actually a fully functional alarm clock that I probably could have sold, but we didn't have things like Tindy back then, so I didn't. So look at that. That is so much better than before, isn't it?